If I was dependent upon other vendors and subcontractors, I don't think we'd got to where we were today. It's almost like fighting sharks. Nobody wanted to know me.
What got the respect and the attention of these suppliers?
I mean, I have to also mention Madhu's here.
Yeah.
Sadly, 2020 didn't happen and the whole market came down. You need decor. Whether the wedding is 10 people or 100 people, you need decor. 2025, there's so much information that it's confusing them. The influencer game, it's a very weak game. You can't actually convince Gen Z to do anything anymore. Did those exhibitions bring me the clientele I wanted to? Google is the way forward. Everybody walking in through the doors knew who 1SW was. Just because he's my husband, I don't keep quiet. Oh, I love AI.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I embrace it. And I think it's about time the rest of the industry did. I don't want a work-life balance.
Today, I'd like to introduce you to Timmy, co-founder of 1SW Events, a wedding and event decor and planning company whose client list includes the likes of Amir Khan, Jay Shetty, Jamavar in Mayfair, 10 Downing Street, and so many more.
Thank you for having me, Rick.
Brilliant.
This sounds really interesting. So many questions.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to put some credibility in this podcast to get a lot of, get business owners who've basically hit that, 7-digit milestone, and to basically help others who have similar ambitions. And, you've done brilliantly with 1SW, and we're going to unpack that all.
A big part down to you, Rick.
I mean, we do a bit, but you guys have to do the other bit for sure. But yeah, we'll basically get into the questions and kind of figure out how you got to that stage. And, I remember you said you started with an IT degree, right?
Yeah.
At uni.
Well, that's what I did. And I still enjoy. I mean, this is the thing. IT is still something that I love. I mean, this rise of AI has really got me hooked. And I ended up in event decor and planning from IT because I had two choices. So one was IT, one was fashion design. And I decided to go the IT way because at the time, this is in the early 2000s, IT was the big thing, right? Everybody who went into IT in 2004, 2003 did very well. Also because in those days, it was almost like fashion design was not an employable career. I don't know if it is still till this day, but design is definitely, but IT was a safe bet. And if you're creative, I thought I can use this to then apply IT skills. So that's kind of the two paths I had.
Brilliant. And then how do you go from IT and then into like event decor and planning?
So my family business, which is where the inspiration came from, as a business in Bradford, my family was always trading with India, Pakistan, China, the Far East. And basically it was a business where it was serving the Asian community. So when my grandparents came here in the late 50s, they could see that as Asian migrants, they couldn't get what they needed, what they were used to back in India and Pakistan. So they opened a business selling saris, incense sticks, anything, even everyday utensils. We've got like religious artifacts, chairs, wedding ornaments, anything that you needed when you're an Asian person. And I think through having this Aladdin's cave full of chairs and tassels and jewelry and saris and shoes and eventually furniture as well, they decided that, okay, do you know what, people need a chair to get married in, they need a doll, which is an instrument, and so that's where the wedding trade started from. I personally started from the clothing side of things. So for me, creating bridal dresses and matching their jewelry and then looking at their color themes. And then it was just a gradual, natural process into also working on their weddings and the flowers and the decorations. And that was in me anyway. So I thought, okay, fine. Let me go and do the employable, the safe job angle. And we'll see if I come back into this. And as soon as I graduated, I said no to the IT job I was offered and went straight into this. So
Brilliant.
that's where I am.
Brilliant. And then what year was 1SW born?
So 1SW in the North started for me in 2005, 2006 when I did my first wedding in Swansea. My daughter was probably 2 years old and I had to be in Swansea for a 2-day event. Which was my first planning and design event. I mean, I don't even know, how I did it at the time with a 2-year-old. But I remember it being quite challenging because we were working in a big sports hall. and to then and who would think that you'd have a wedding in a sports hall, but that was the way it went all those years ago. And we had to basically speak to all the suppliers, put the itineraries together, and just make sure everything went well over the 2 days. And then I took a bit of a break. And then when I moved to London in 2009, that's when we launched 1SW events in London. So from Bradford, Manchester, and now in London. And that's when and we've been going since 2009 in London.
Amazing. Amazing. I remember we got involved probably,
I think
2016,
because, I found an email where we were exchanging emails in 2016, 17. Yes. So I would say, even though it seems like a huge gap between the two, if you look at where we are today, we haven't had our 10-year anniversary yet, but we're on to it, right? By next year.
Yeah, definitely, Timmy. I just didn't realize it was that long. No. I didn't know between when you started and when we...
If you remember Instagram in those days...
There was none.
Well, there was, but it was very early days.
Yeah, just pictures.
Just pictures.
Facebook was big. Still is big.
We worked together on our website, I think. That must have been the first thing.
I remember the website. I remember that website you had. I remember the Instagram.
The directory that you had.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. That's correct. So you talked about Swansea a bit there. That's like one of the first events. But, how do you secure your first client when you started?
So I was quite lucky in the north because I had the platform of being in the family business, and there was... one-stop wedding shop, as it was called at the time, was generating business through the local community. That was a platform for me. And when I moved to London, it was almost like starting again, because we'd been established in the north since probably early 2000, and it was all good, and the business had a good standing, and there was lots of regular work coming in. Little did I realise that you can't just replicate the same model in London, because from a very small community in Bradford and covering most of the north, so up to Manchester, when you move to London, it's a different range of people. The budgets are higher, and it's almost like fighting sharks, because I think when I think back to when I first started, and without name dropping, I went to all the top caterers, and nobody wanted to know me. So, it's just an approach I had, which was, let's go and meet the caterers. Let's say, here we are. This is who we are. We've done this in the north. We're now in London and would love to work with you. But they were preset with their suppliers. And as a business owner, I now understand that why would they change something that's not broken? You don't fix if it's not broken. And who am I in place of the people they already work with? But I realized that and business mindset has changed since then, that actually it was because people didn't want to change. A, they didn't want something new. They couldn't be bothered. And B, they almost thought, but I don't know you, and why should I work with you? What they didn't see was, hang on, this could change the face of weddings. And although London was way ahead of weddings compared to the rest of the country, I think people were so fixed in their ways of how weddings should be that they weren't looking to discuss new ideas. Today, those same people come up to me and say, let's meet, let's do something new. They're looking to me for ideas. But I've been saying this for years, that why is it that, we have to work the same way that we always have? And I think that's what I realized very quickly, that in London especially, and maybe in the world in general, but in London especially, without any credibility, no matter where you're from, you could be amazing in your hometown or in your country, but without people here seeing what you do actively, without being in that network, it's very hard. So it was tough.
I understand. And then what got the respect and the attention of these suppliers from for 1SW?
Well, I mean, it's taken, so from 2009 to 2016, 17, when we met you, I think, although that period feels like a blur, it's probably a blur because A, there wasn't as much social media, so we were just relying upon pictures and working with, we were in East London, so what we did manage to secure is working with local venues. And our local business and our sort of local relationships grew very strongly, of which some still remain today. And And so that was developing our portfolio, because with any wedding business, having a portfolio of weddings in London is important. Having a portfolio of weddings in the north means nothing. And very soon did I see what the trends are and then learn and try to better myself. So from 2009 to 2012, I spent 3-4 years just learning my game. So I met with local vendors in East London that I could work with. I used to speak to each client myself, understand their brief. Following the policy of the client is always right, which I still do till this day. And a big change for me was that I learned how to make my own flowers. I felt like anything that's limiting me of reaching the next level, I'm going to break that barrier. So I did a flower course, a wedding floristry course with Flower Power. So I do always, I'm still in touch with Jay from Flower Power, and I do respect her, and I'm really thankful to her for letting me onto the course, because she was a competitor. I mean, I was nothing compared to what she was, and most people may have forgotten her, but for the time and the era that she was doing floristry and doing wedding flowers and making mandaps and garlands, she was a leader in her field, very creative. And what she taught me about the variety of flowers, and just on a short course, I felt like it opened up a new world for me. It gave me the confidence. So from 2012 all the way till I met you, as well as having my third child in that period and taking a very short break, I did a lot of the flowers myself. So literally, if an order would come in, we'd go and buy the flowers from the wholesalers and physically make the arrangements. And although that seems like years ago until we then got our first in-house florist to work with us, it's a journey and it's a phase that I went through. And then that's when the business started to grow.
Yeah.
You know, if I was dependent upon other vendors and subcontractors, I don't think we'd got to where we were today. So you have to learn the game.
I agree.
And that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, same on this side. Had to learn and be really good.
And I'm still learning.
Yeah, of course.
Like here's me signing up for another course or something that I'd like to know more about. You know, so I think you never stop learning. Definitely.
But I do agree is organically prove it that you can do it before you start putting ammunition into like advertising.
And there was so much along the way. I mean, you know, we had to use resources like the Asiana shows, the wedding shows. I mean, I have to also mention Madhu's here.
Yeah.
Because I have to say they were the only company, the only people that actually didn't look at us as maybe a threat or a non-existent. Just the relationship that we had with them, we got hotel bookings. I mean, if we didn't work with Madhu's, we wouldn't set our standards high, because we were working in hotels with Madhu's.
Perfect.
So there you go. You know, the caterers who are at the top are the ones who supported us, of course, back in the days.
It's a good ally, definitely, to have. But no, in terms of like getting the respect and the attention, would you say your Instagram following or how aware how aware you are on social media, did that help, or did your numbers basically help to get the respect and attention of?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because I mean, that was then, right? I don't know how much people look at followers now. I mean, they still do, but now there's so much more conversation about it's not the followers, it's the content. And I think if you think back to maybe 5 years or 7, 8 years ago, having more followers was the key thing. So you hear of fake followers.
Yes.
I think all those days have gone now.
I think so. Well, people still do it, but
I don't know if people don't believe as much anymore either.
Correct. You can tell that they've bought.
But I think obviously what I learned with you was your online presence.
Yeah.
You know, that was key, and you knew how to do that. I knew I wanted that, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to go and learn this bit. Although I knew, like, my IT degree taught me that, look, this is important, but I also knew the specialist out there for this. Yeah. So, you know what, let me go to a specialist. And I think, Rick, what it was that we developed a good rapport from day one.
Yeah.
Trust and loyalty, because till this day, like, even though you've got passwords to these social medias, that's quite key, right? These are very important things. Like they should be locked up in.
I mean, it's all contracted, and there's privacy policies.
But what I'm saying is that these things, this is trust, right? When you
100%.
trust somebody, it's almost like letting somebody into your house,
Correct,
and letting them, organize it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I felt with you. I mean, I've met so many companies and people promise all sorts, but I've always been too scared to try something else.
Yeah.
So yes, I think growth, your online, that's your online shop. And one key point which you've always said to me is that your online, your website, that's your online shop. And we need to work on that. And when you ask me what really blew up for us was COVID, I mean, that was an eye opener.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I can, and we've got questions definitely
on
on that for sure. So in terms of the client, so you said how you secured your first client was basically word of mouth, or basically
just meeting people, local caterers. I mean, back then it was all about who you knew and where you were, and locally on Green Street, being in a shop called Simasari's and just meeting clients. Just having an advert, putting a phone number. So
it's very offline, but it can work.
It was working then, wasn't it?
For sure. And then how have the clients changed from those days to today?
Well, I'm not going to say clients then were not fussy, because they did want to, girls. If you think back to the couples then, they'd seen their parents get married, which was in community centres and sports halls. And although back in 2009, there were still community centre weddings, there was also hotel weddings. And I think that became the benchmark, because you couldn't just open Pinterest and look for inspiration. They were coming to you. And I remember they'd have a glimpse of an image from a magazine or somewhere, and you couldn't just share pictures on WhatsApp, so they had to physically bring things in, but they were heavily dependent upon you. So that's the client in the beginning. Okay, they were dependent on you for ideas. Now how things have changed is that clients see so much more. So now the challenging part is that the brief, the creativity, you definitely have to work harder, and the competition is greater. You can have word of mouth referrals, but ultimately that client decides whether they go with the referral or whether they go with their own research. And I also embrace that positively, because in a lot of what I've done, I've realized that there's so many circles within the industry that this particular group of people stay together and this group stay together. And by letting people go and do their own research, it means that those groups no longer exist. And now you get an opportunity to pitch for something that you wouldn't have had if you weren't a part of that group.
Yeah, no.
So that's where the clients changed. I think the briefs have got more challenging. The competition is higher, but now your business is in your hands. So, we can't always blame the market, the vendor, the reference, the venue. We have to look at within our own selves and change what we're doing.
100%. I agree. And, if I had to say, you talked a bit about how the business, really things changed big time since, we got involved. What would you say were the game changing, exact things you did in the business, advertising wise, marketing wise, or even processes in the business that made you get to 1 million plus revenue?
So, in COVID was 2020, but between when we started digital marketing, which was, I think, in 2017.
Yeah, it was 2016, 2017. Yeah.
But when we started advertising till 2019, I think we were getting the leads in, but the leads started increasing in 2018, 2019. And I don't think we understood the value of those leads then. And we could see that the face of our social media was changing. And I'm not just saying this because of, us being together here, but also because this is the truth.
Yeah.
And this is something that people have to take notice of. So the face of social media was changing. The website was looking good. But we were so busy in our businesses that we didn't realize that we were actually creating our shop front for an era that would change the landscape of business forever. And come 2019, that was probably the first year where we felt like, okay, so this year we've done hotels. In fact, 2018, because that year we did a huge event in in the north, and we did a big event in London. We did an event in the south of France. And prior to that, the year before that, we did the birthday party for Amir and Faryal Khan's
Yeah.
daughter. We did a lot of weddings, like big weddings up north, and a lot of fresh flowers. So you could see the fresh flower skills were growing. In 2018, we did a very big, and that was a £500,000 wedding.
Amazing.
The private wedding where we had over 10,000 roses and 1,000 orchids in a private home. Huge wedding that we turned around in 3 weeks. And then that was like, it was just week upon week, and it was busy, and it was a huge year for us. Our floristry team, just for those weddings, grew from 1 florist to 10 florists within 3 weeks. And in those days, again, without having, networks to reach out to florists, it was hard, but we managed to grow the team. And one of those florists is still with us today, so it's quite nice. But 2019 came, it was a super year, and we thought, right, 2020 is going to be great because now we're at Grosvenor House and we're doing all these hotel weddings. But sadly, 2020 didn't happen, and the whole market came down. But for us, what we found was in that, off period, we were still running ads because we knew it would open up one day.
Yeah.
And the laws were changing. There were small weddings and there were so many different angles where most businesses who had previously, and most of our competitors, were relying upon those groups and referrals, which meant nothing because in our industry, it was always the caterers who led the way. So you book the caterer or the venue, you book the venue and the caterer because you can't book the venue without the caterer. The caterer then refers you to the other vendors, and that's how you get your client. But remember, that model never worked for me because I tried that back in 2009, 2010. Nobody wanted to know me. I had to find my own feet. So 1SW as a brand was growing alongside all the other caterers. And I didn't realize that till 2020. And I thought, okay, so now hang on a minute. These people are booking venues. They need decor for their small wedding ceremonies. And the caterer doesn't matter anymore because the big caterers couldn't do the small weddings. The numbers weren't working for them. Most of their staff were furloughed, whereas now the ball was in my court. So out goes the caterer, in comes the decorator, because you need decor. Whether the wedding is 10 people or 100 people, you need decor. And you couldn't have marquees. All has to be outdoors, has to be in the house. So the only vendor that could supply for that wedding was the decorator. How do people who are sat at home find those decorators or find that service? Through Google,
through Facebook,
through social media,
Instagram.
And nobody's running ads. We're running ads. So we're getting inquiries in. So throughout COVID, I'm not going to say it was mega busy, but it kept us going. And we developed those small weddings, ended up developing a portfolio of weddings, which basically made us noticed amongst the right circle. The Asian wedding industry created an association. Again, through Google and social media, we had different news channels reaching out to us, different people reaching out to us, saying, "Oh, we found you online. Can we get some, can you please give us an interview? Can you come on the radio? Just tell us how the hospitality industry wedding and the Indian wedding industry."
Yeah.
So because we were there, we were the first ones to reach. An association was created. And in that association, that was the turning point. And I say this because in this association that we created, they had all these caterers. So again, it was an Asian wedding industry association. The people who run the association were all caterers. They reached out to people and they said, look, we need more vendors, we need more suppliers on this association so that we can grow this group. Nobody cared, nobody wanted to look at it because they were relying upon these caterers and the mindsets weren't there. What I saw was a connection with all the caterers in the industry by first name, people that who would not have even probably spoken to me, but I'm getting direct access to all these owners of businesses. So for me, that was a networking opportunity. And I think I was the only supplier to sign up to the association and the only female supplier. This was another problem, that they realized that we can't take an association to town without any women. How does that work when we service women? And so that gave me a platform. I love speaking. I love showing myself off and telling people what I do. And so it just worked. 2021, we had a dinner for the association. Things were getting back to normal again. We had a room full of the wedding industry. And at the end of my little bit, and just through like meeting with the caterers, having Zoom calls, giving my opinion. And it was hard because sometimes you're on a Zoom call with 6, 7, 8 men and there's no voice for a woman. But they were all very respectful. They all listened, and I do appreciate that. And I have good relationships with them all today. But they listened, and I realized very quickly, I could see from a business point of view that we're all facing the same challenges. And it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to, we should help each other and we should grow together. And I became an executive member of the association. Again, the only woman. So when I stood and I spoke, and this was at the first event we had for the association, once I finished my speech, I had suppliers coming up to me and saying to me, I love what you do on social media. Your online presence is great. And this was because we were always on Google. The ads were following them.
Yeah.
And our following, without me realizing, was so high that people wanted to be associated with us and do weddings for us because they thought, okay, if we do something with 1SW, the engagement will be good. And so that's for me the turning point. I'm thinking, so all these years we've been working on this. And if you think about it, from 2016, and it only comes to light in 2020, 2021, how much of value that adds to the brand.
100%. I'd like to say you were very courageous during the pandemic to keep your ads on. And obviously we were super happy because a lot of the competitors, they stopped everything.
They did.
They stopped everything.
That was the time to perform.
Correct.
Right? So the phones were still ringing.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So we had more runway on the feeds because all your competitors are no longer advertising. And even if they do advertise, they don't advertise properly.
But also the feedback we got from clients, which surprised me, they said, oh, we've noticed that you're still doing things. So they're assuming that our competitors
went to sleep. Yeah.
Gone bust, don't exist, where they are. And they could see that we're posting small events legally. These are legal events. And we're posting events. We're showing that we're still around. We're doing things. So they could see that, okay, this company's active.
Yeah, 100%. And it's good that you actually used, that association as a networking method
that
rather than going to your BNIs.
That association for me was, like I said, what I believed was I'm sat in a room full of the heads of the catering businesses, and these are the people that back in 2009 didn't care who I was, and I didn't even know them. I'd never spoken to the owners of a few of these catering companies, and like I said, now I've got good relationships with them.
Yeah,
I have their phone numbers.
Yeah, exactly. You got a first name basis. No, it's good. Things like that are, it's priceless. For sure. And then you talked a bit about the platforms that have really, really helped you, and we'll dig into that now. It's like, so in to people listening, how do you continually generate new clients? Because when a client comes, it's only more often than not, they're going to use you for one event only, probably their wedding and pre-events, pre-wedding events, etc. So you're going to have to continually find new clients. So how do you continually generate new leads to basically drive your sales?
So, I mean, obviously we rely heavily upon Disturb Digital, because without, and I know that you keep up with the latest, I shouldn't use the word trends, but, technology changes and the algorithms and things. So I rely upon you to feed that information back to me. And I think I've always followed your guidance. I do, and I do read and research myself, not because I don't believe it, but because even if I read something new, it's an idea that I run past you.
Yeah.
And I've learned, without giving too many secrets away, that if I've got a question about business, about growth, about a new idea that I could suggest to bring leads, I run it past you. I also tell you generally what sort of feedback we're getting from the client, what the phone calls are like, the conversations, the requests, so that you can then go away and think about how to service that.
Yeah.
So I think you have to keep, we could not get comfortable with the same technique that we have. And in the last year, especially, I think we've had to change so much because if we didn't, we'd fall behind.
Correct. Yeah.
Now everybody's running ads.
They are not effectively.
Not
but-
effectively.
yeah.
And I know it's not effective because if those ads are coming to me, then we know they're not correct.
Yeah.
And if they're not answering the right questions, I mean, there's so much that goes into this now that, you've understood it. And I can pick up the phone and say, Rick, look, what do you think of this? Or I think this isn't correct. So I think you have to constantly change and not get comfortable, not get complacent thinking everything's working. I'll just sit back. We know that our website will need changing consistently. There's so much more. And the face of how people search for things has changed as well, right?
Correct. And it's changing. Yeah, definitely. In terms of, what do you say has been the best platforms for you, Timmy, in terms of generating new business?
See, I'd like to say Instagram because it seems like the most obvious one. But I know you've always said this to me, and I do agree that Google is the way forward. And I say that because Instagram is lots of questions, but not a lot of guaranteed return. It's almost like your portfolio. And then Google is the one that actually are the serious people, because I think about the market who's searching. I think about, I think about where my ideal client might be looking.
And the intent. So if you're searching for something, you're searching for that thing right now.
And you've got the importance of coming up first. Whereas on Instagram, I don't think their search algorithms as good as we think.
And they won't. People don't search like
and
that.
TikTok it seems like fun and games, like it's advice. So I'll give you an example. When you want to go out, I often do this now, where I look for a certain genre of restaurants.
Reviews.
But then I'm still going to go on to Google because I want to see, are they open? What's the menu like? And what's the reviews like? And what are the timings? So even if I go on to a TikTok or an Instagram, I'm still going back to Google. And it's like a recipe, right?
Correct.
You find it on TikTok or Instagram, and I always find it takes you back onto Google.
Yeah.
So then why not be on Google in the first place?
100%. I would say always conquer.
Yeah. And it's because even the website is linked back to Google, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean,
Google Maps, we all use it.
Maps. Yeah. In terms of, that's where the clicks go. So if your site needs to be bang on, I would say the 360. You need to be good on all platforms.
You do.
But the first place where you're going to get the highest intent will be Google, and then your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikToks, your organic. Organic against paid is an interesting. It's closer these days.
That we're speaking about a lot, and I think the organic is good. But come on, I mean, this is one thing I always say, that Google is also running a business.
Yeah.
Okay. We complain about the number of views on TikTok and Instagram, but nobody's actually. Why are you blaming? Like, people go on saying, I'm so frustrated with TikTok and they're ruining my business, but they're a business too, and their business is to advertise people. So pay. I'm sorry, but if you're, and people spend a lot of money getting these professional videos made, or they spend so much time in being present, but you can do a video every day, but if you don't pay for that video or pay for your page to reach people, then there is nothing that Instagram and TikTok will do for you.
Correct.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I've realized, or I feel now that, I mean, as a business owner, I do want to do more on my social media, but I'm also happy to pay the platforms to do that work for me.
Yeah, especially if you know they actually are going to bring you leads that turn into business.
Well, that's what I realized. So this was the golden moment when I thought, okay, so when a lead comes in, I look at all my sort of leads. I understand where it's come from. 70 to 80% of the time, the client says you're the first person I've contacted. So not only are we getting people who want decor, we're getting distressed people who are like, I've just got engaged. I'm looking at venues. I'm looking at caterers, but it's just so much.
Yeah.
So now, 2010, 2012, the information wasn't there. 2025, there's so much information that it's confusing them.
Correct.
So now you have to decide as a business owner and learn from this. So then I realized that this was about 3-4 years ago, that this client now wants help finding a venue. They need a caterer. They need everything. And that's all because they went onto Google feeling a bit distressed and overwhelmed with Pinterest and Instagram and TikTok, and now they don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a restaurant with too much on the menu. It's too
Well,
much.
but
It gets
it's like
overwhelming.
when TikTok gives you 20 restaurants in your genre and then you forgot about number 3 and 4.
Exactly.
And then you look at the most interesting one, go and Google it, but you forgot what you looked at when you first went on.
Correct.
So that's why Google is important.
And also being first. So now they've contacted you first. You've got all the advantage to service the client.
The disadvantage of that is that when the price point comes in, then they start comparing you.
Of course.
But then, look, as any business owner, you don't get complacent. You carry on communication and then the business rules come in. But that's the point, that if you don't show yourself there, honestly, I've learned one thing. Fancy offices, funky videos, dancing to trends, it doesn't mean anything. Just show up and deliver.
Definitely.
That's really all it is.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, look, so organic's good. I think it's needed. But at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. You need to drive revenue for a business, and you need to use multiple ways to do that, including paid.
Do you know when clients say to you that you're everywhere online, right? They don't understand what that means in ad terms.
Yeah.
Right? But we do. Right? So when they say you're everywhere, it's so good. You know, when I went to a meeting in Hilton Paddington last October or something, and the owners, it was a wedding we're doing for the owners, the pre-wedding party, and she had a guest in the restaurant, and she said, "Oh, this is my wedding planner. She's doing my daughter's pre-wedding. Her company is called 1SW." This was a guest at a restaurant, and she said, "Oh, I've heard of 1SW." When you go within the Asian community in London and you go to somebody and you say 1SW and they've heard of you, I mean, that means your ads are working.
100%. And even when I've gone to like wedding fairs, you know, for research.
Everybody's heard of
and
1SW.
When they're doing decor and then I speak to them, they're like, obviously we say, okay, yeah, 1SW events is one of a kind. They're like, wow, they're like so at the top. And it's amazing to see that, because obviously I remember.
I mean, I was in Dubai and I had people coming up to me saying, "I've heard of 1SW at a wedding show." And then you know, like, okay, so we're here to stay.
Yeah.
So I know business is tough right now in the economy, but the thing is, you have to keep on going.
Yeah.
And that strength has not come from anything but a combination of a good portfolio and a good marketing campaign.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of like, we can talk about a bit more about organic. So we've seen 1SW be posted by, influencers that have got over 1 million followers. I think the key question is, when you get posted or, shouted out by...
Does it mean anything?
Well, does it mean anything, and did it bring you new business? And these are 1 million plus following influencer accounts.
If you ask me, I mean, the last one we did was the wedding we did last year. We shouldn't take names, right?
We shouldn't say names.
Yeah, we shouldn't say names.
We shouldn't say names.
But we were surprised. It didn't really do anything. And it was quite surprising. Just because you've done a wedding for so-and-so, it doesn't mean that suddenly you'll get 20 weddings. And I call this, like, I've been to conferences where, for example, the LA wedding board. So, getting married in LA, you can get a wedding license 24 hours. And they've realized that the influencer game, it's a very weak game. And I think that, I'm not knocking influencers. We like to listen to their advice and it's good to get an opinion, but it's an opinion, right? It's not just because they're promoting it, just because they've given you a shout out, just because you take your product to an influencer, it does not mean anything. I mean, at the time when I did Amir and Faryal Khan's daughter's birthday, that was a different era.
Yeah.
2017, I think it was. That was a different era. I did that birthday. I definitely got some business from that in 2018. But today that means nothing to people. It's a different generation as well. And I think this is where I've now realized that, we did a wedding at the Ritz and that did very well. That was beautiful. Creatively, that brought me recognition.
Yeah.
So let me just separate the influencer part to the creativity part. So am I better off doing a creative shoot that I can then market out completely with Google and Instagram and social media, but it looks different? Or should I go and do something for an influencer? In my opinion, I should do something creative and market it out, because the power of marketing holds more value than the influencer doing a post or a collab.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
So that's important now. That's what I've learned, and that's what I'm going to stick to.
Yeah, no, I see that. And in terms of, I think the influencer thing can work for awareness, but if you're looking for direct sales from that influencer.
But awareness for how long?
Yeah.
And what if that, okay. And one thing, Rick, that I'm saying to people, and I've realized, if that influencer doesn't run ads, they're not going to get the growth they want.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I feel.
In terms of influencer, I mean, we do use the influencers in certain businesses. Like, we do need to use that to try to build some sort of momentum, some sort of awareness, because people do follow influencers and then get influenced. So it's needed in one aspect for certain businesses, but it's not the only thing. There's so many. There's paid. There's the site. There's SEO. There's so many things. But 100%.
I think being an influencer is a full-time job, right? You need
It
a team
is.
around you.
It is. And also it really depends on how aligned your product or service is with their audience. So if the alignment isn't, pretty close, then, it's not going to be amazing that, the outcome. But no, it's good to see how, when you've been, posted by accounts that got 1 million, I think it's more than 1 million plus, and then seeing no business from that, that's interesting. And if you were to actually pay influencers to do a post,
I would never pay an influencer.
Yeah.
And I'm being quite vocal about that. Look, I've got children who are Gen Z and Gen X, or the one after Gen Z. And I've realized that the Gen Z are definitely not, they like to see influencers. They're not influenced, right? Because you can't actually convince Gen Z to do anything anymore. So I think what businesses should be doing is try and understand, how will we convince these Gen Z brides and grooms?
Correct.
And that's not through influencers. That, I mean, I don't know the stats for this, but there must be 1,000 odd new influencers that are born every day. Yeah. I don't know the stats. But if you think about if you asked me right now, Rick, who are the 5 most trending influencers, I would not even know their names. And so if I'm feeling like this, I think today, a new couple, if they were to look to an influencer for wedding tips, or in my industry, who would they go to?
Yeah.
They go onto your social media, they look at all the work you've done, they'll go back as far as they can through your highlights and sort of your feed, but they just refer to that wedding with that name. Nobody says to you anymore, I want to have that because so-and-so had it. So I think that the influencing is slowing down.
I agree. Yeah.
I think creating holds more value. So if that influencer was to tie up with you and create something that would get and be more real, I think that would get more attraction, and the end product that's created and then marketed. So I think changing the way we're using influencers got to change.
Correct. I mean, you could see it as more of a reinforcement to the brand if an influencer has bigged you up, but it's not the be and
I
end.
think we both need each other.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do, this is what I've learned, and I did this year. I did 1 or 2 wedding shows, and I'm not saying this in a pompous way, but I think what I am saying is that no, we don't need to be everywhere all the time, because that's what your marketing does for you. But those events, those industry events, or those sort of situations. So when there's a wedding show, I think wedding show owners, I think brands should learn to align with brands that complement them. And I think that's what's missing. So stop looking for an influencer. Look for brands that will enhance your brand.
I agree. And you talked about exhibitions, and that's a interesting one, Timmy. In exhibitions, like, I think the key question what many people ask is, do exhibitions work? And when we say work, in terms of,
do we need to do them?
Do you need to do them to get new business?
So I've got a very straightforward answer. I've been doing exhibitions since 2016 or 15, and I've learned a lot along the way. Back then, did those exhibitions bring me the clientele I wanted to? No. Does it bring me the clientele I wanted today? No. The answer is the same. But what does it do then? So back then, those exhibitions, and even today, they were always an opportunity for me to be in a network of people. They were always an opportunity or a platform for me to create something. And that's how I view an exhibition. I think everybody's too busy. Again, this is the mind-blowing thing. So we all want leads. That's the ultimate goal. We all want business. Okay. So you're paying, anything from £300 to £3,000 to do these exhibitions. But we'd have this conversation. So you'd say to me, if you spent £3,000 on ads, right, just think about how many leads you'd get. And so what would happen is we'd go to this show, and in the last couple of years, we'd stand there all day, we'd get a few leads, and then we'd go back into the office, we'd email them, we'd call them. And then on the same day, simultaneously, I'm getting leads in my inbox just by doing nothing, just by spending whatever it was we were spending per day. And then I'm asking myself that, okay, so Rick, how can we target the people who are attending the show? And we could. So suddenly we found that, okay, so we're getting the leads anyway. And then we realized in the last 2-3 years is that everybody walking in through the doors knew who 1SW was. And then I thought, right, so previous years, the reason for doing shows was to be in a room full of industry people who I could network with and work with. Okay. Now my goal for doing exhibitions is just because I want to reinforce that 1SW do exist. And for all those fans who email, you read the leads, who say, I've been following you for years. I love your work. People now say, I've always been wanting to use you. I just was, even before I was engaged. Now you're going to reinforce the brand. And I example, the supermarkets, Tesco, M&S, Next, they still run ads.
Yeah.
Everybody knows they exist, but why do they still run ads? Because they have to keep on reminding people of who they are. They're there, they do trade shows, they're always showing up, they do pop-ups, because they have to keep on telling people who they are. So we have to keep on telling people who we are. And now, what I've learned this year from shows is that, and again, I know this is very controversial because I know the industry does not agree with me on this, possibly, that you need me to be at your show to make you look good and bring in the right audience. And I say this proudly because I run ads. Okay, so if I post a show, if I'm at a show and my ads are continuously working, think about the engagement your show is getting.
Correct.
But nobody sees it like that. But I'm hoping that, Rick, you're going to help me get to that stage where we're saying, listen, go do your show, but let me be at the front. Let me help get your show to the right audience, because I'm sat on an audience of people who are constantly watching what I do because they look up to us.
100%. Yeah, it's testament to say that they already knew who you were before they got there. And
so I'm just there saying, hi, this is me, this is who we are, feel our stuff, touch it, see us.
It's reinforcement.
Take a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So the stand, not me.
100%. It's a reinforcement, and that helps. And you're right, all the big brands, McDonald's, they still do ads. There's a McDonald's on every corner. So they still run marketing and they still run ads.
They're still posting things through our door.
Yeah.
Look at the marketing. This is marketing for you. People say leafleting is dead. It is, but we still pick up that leaflet and check what it's about.
Yeah, for a brief second.
We do, don't we?
Yeah.
So, the thing is, every brand has its own way of working.
For sure. And then you touched on those exhibitions. Which would you say in London, for anyone that's in your kind of in the wedding field or just an event field, which would we say the best ones?
Look, one thing I say about shows, they're a great platform for new businesses. When people say to me that, what should I do? I'm a new business. I would say, go and do a wedding show. And I say that because how else do you reach an audience of 100+ people? How do you get that one-to-one interaction and confidence to sell people your product? So there are a couple of shows. I think it depends on what you're selling. It depends on your target audience. Some shows are invite only. So then, there's not much you can do about that. But I think shows have definitely pushed me to do better and better. They've given me the confidence to speak and do more video interviews. So I think Asiana is a very good show. And it's, for me, it's probably one of the shows that I'm closest to, because that's where I started. In fact, I feel like I couldn't get into an Asiana show. I had to kind of like, it was almost like you were selected back in those days. And it took me 2 or 3 years. And when I got into my first Asiana show, I was like, oh, why I'm doing Asiana this year? Because I just couldn't get in. I almost felt like there was a block. I don't know if anybody was stopping me, but it was just, I didn't get the call to be invited to come in. So anyway, Asiana is a very good one because, you know, you're with Madhus, who are a big caterer. The National Asian Wedding Show, again, good friends. We're doing some work with them this week as well. And very good show, huge numbers. So regardless of how big or how small you are, it's a great entry level show. Kush Door Wedding Show, which we've also been a part of. Very boutique, niche show. They're very good with their editorials and general, you know, the way they present themselves. So if you go to a Kush show, you'll be presented in a very boutique, aesthetic way. I've done a Rico show. So I've done them all good friends. Great for a West London crowd. Again, very boutique, niche. The aesthetics are great. So, you know, every show has something for you. And I think I did them all. I haven't done a National Asian Wedding Show, but, you know, I have in Dubai, actually. So I have. Yeah. I've done a show with all 4 of them this year. And they've all been very similar. And I'm not saying that you should do them all, but I'm saying that you should do a show to create brand awareness, regardless of whether you're at, you know, entry level or experienced.
Yeah.
You cannot sit back and say, I don't need to do a show, unless you're spending huge amounts of money on marketing.
100%. Yeah. So I would say probably then you're saying do the show for experience, reinforcement, do online marketing for actual real business.
Everything needs support.
Yeah.
You know, Rick, one of the things I have to say, our wedding industry, we're not regulated. There's no rule book. And so everybody's too busy pushing out more and more interviews and podcasts and videos, but nobody's spending money on marketing.
I know. It's
and
crazy.
And that's the crazy thing.
It's harder to actually do, you know, that type of, you know, this organic stuff than it is actually to, you know, well, it's more time consuming.
There's such great talent creatively. I'm not saying I'm the best. There are people globally and even in this country that are amazing at what they do, but they're not getting the right guidance.
100%. I 100%. I see
they
people
can't justify it, can they?
Yeah, I see people with 100K following, and all they do is just keep posting, but they haven't got no business for love nor money.
No.
So it's, yeah, I mean, it's up to how people do it, but you know,
missed opportunities.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you have to put your hand in your pocket if you want stuff to actually happen. And you know, talking about these leads that you get, you know, one time you get hundreds and hundreds of leads per month. How do you guys manage that? Because I you know, when we see these leads come in and things of that, so I thought, wow, this is a lot of work for the sales team.
I mean, we every lead is not. They don't get a standard email anymore, and they can't. It's taken me years to find a system that works, and it does get overwhelming. But I've got a team of 2 people just managing leads, because it's not just sending out a price list. You've seen the inquiries, everything is so bespoke. And now our new feature where you can put images in, that's been great. I mean, that really has been a great help. But everybody, like, each wedding is unique. And we say this all the time. So naturally, every lead is going to be unique. So everybody gets a response. Obviously, some leads go to junk, but we try and reach out to them by phone calls and WhatsApps and emails, and even all the DMs we get. We try and respond to them. Phone calls as a result of the Google ads. Everything is seen to. So the office is open 6 days a week. And when all the team go home, I'm sat there in the evening because I don't want to miss anything. And I think it's just trying to, as I said in the beginning, the customer is always right. So if my customer needs to do an evening call or an evening chat, then that's their time. I have a call today as well at 7.
Amazing.
A video call. So we have a CRM system in place, which is constantly changing. We obviously use WhatsApp. We have lists, Excel sheets, which track all the leads. We also have a proposal software, so we can backtrack on proposals. We're trying to link the CRM to the proposals, and which we can do shortly. So we have to, because at the end of the day, there's no point spending money if you can't service those leads. And then we constantly feed back to you
Yeah.
with what's working. So if, depending on the nature of the lead, but every lead is looked at in a personal way.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and
Depending on the nature, we then act accordingly.
correct. Yeah, and obviously we know which leads came from which ad, from which keyword, or from which phone call, so we can continue to optimize your budget to make sure you get the actual leads that turned into bookings.
Correct.
So yeah, no, it's hard work on both sides. And look, going back to where you started and now doing venues like the Savoy, the Dorchester, the Landmark, how did you get from, let's say, the small halls to the big dog venues?
I think that was definitely the marketing, because obviously this is where I think you stepped in. Whenever we do a wedding at a big venue, you'd be sure to put that online. And we didn't realize that. Well, I mean, I didn't know, but you knew that was a search term. So I think marketing weddings at the Savoy as an example helped. So those brand associations, marketing those weddings. And I think, the rise of TikTok has helped, because we saw that with Battersea Arts Centre, didn't we?
Yeah.
That suddenly the Battersea Arts Centre, and I actually think that it's down to our marketing that has put Battersea Arts Centre on the map for Asian weddings. Even they didn't realise that Battersea Arts Centre had a potential for Asian weddings until we came along and did a wedding, and then that TikTok and Instagram, the reel sort of blew up. So I think we really did market, and we're still marketing that.
Yeah.
It's a timeless wedding. So I would say that Battersea Arts Centre is an example of how, and we've generated more and more work from there, because every event we do there has been marketed, and then it obviously has gone viral on TikTok. Similar to Hilton Waldorf, really.
Yeah, Waldorf's a big
So
one. Yeah.
I feel like we get a lot of leads for the same venues that we're in because we do the marketing.
Yeah.
And that just grows. So next year you'll be marketing my French weddings in a chateau.
Yes. It's overseas now. It's global.
Yes, yeah, and we've still got so much content we need to put together.
Yeah.
We were in Geneva this year, so we need to talk about the Four Seasons.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's amazing to see, like, doing the local hall to doing like the Savoy and these big weddings.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. I'm like, wow, the marketing really did work, and we've overtaken all the competitors more or less.
I think so.
In this field, in this specific
I think
field.
so. I think our marketing is definitely strong, and it keeps us going. And I think one thing to note from a business perspective is not just the leads, but I think the media attention we've had. So, we've had Strange Request, right?
BBC.
We've had a lot of people reaching out to us for sound bites, and there's a topic. Also things like requests for doing, we had a Jewish charity reach out to us for doing something different with vegetables and flowers. So we do get, Christmas decor, brand shoots, brand activations, TV series, would you like to be a judge? Can you do decor for a TV series? And that's all come through Google. Diwali's decor has been a big thing just through our Google adverts. So I think we need to look up everything else apart from the leads that comes through. Yeah,
and we need to obviously diversify some of because the good thing about your business, Timmy, is you can basically decorate anything from shops to shop fronts to interiors. So there's a lot, but obviously you've got to be focused on doing one thing and get it right.
Correct, but I think we're in a creative business, aren't we?
We are. You are.
And creativity, one thing that I really, naturally what I was as in my teenage years was an artist. So creating silk paintings and hand drawing and sketching is a big part of what my passion lies in. So today I do want to turn my work into art, and I'm itching for an opportunity to either display my work somewhere in Chelsea and Bluemont. I'm now hungry to do something creative and artistic. And I'm spending a lot of time just thinking about what I can do to show that. So I think it's a creative industry. You can be doing anything.
Yeah. You can move into so many different arenas. You touched on it earlier. Obviously, you built this business with Sahel, your husband. What are the key things that make the relationship work, so the business works, where you can hit these types of revenue?
Oh, God.
Husband and wife, in terms of
heads.
Yeah.
Being expressive. Honestly, I think one thing is, just because he's my husband, I don't keep quiet. And I think, you know what, it's hard, it's tough, but you're running a business. So I keep on now. I'm not going to say I've worked out the golden, the sweet spot. There is no such thing. I always say, speak up and say, okay, in husband and wife. And when you're in the office, you're business partners. And that means that I speak up, but he's also got a right to speak up. And I'm a bit strong-headed, and so is he. So I think I also have to listen to his opinion. And if, we have to agree to disagree. And it's hard. But then I think I've sort of said, okay, so if I'm doing my thing, if he wants to do his thing with a client, or, we've never dictated each other on why did he charge so less, why did he charge more. I think our common goal is obviously to make money, but also to see our business succeed. I mean, I think actually when people were saying that, when people talk about the brand, I think he was better at it than I was, because he's one who will always say it to people wherever he goes, even on holiday, that we run one SW, he has the social media, he's proud of it too. And I think even he's realized that many people have heard of the brand name, and when they come up to him and say, you're all over social media, and people would call him. In fact, this is one thing I have to say. People would call him and say, something's wrong with your Google search. And he'd say, what's wrong? He said that people type our name and you come up.
Yeah.
And people were actually getting annoyed at him. And they'd say that, what are you doing with your marketing? Because, we can't get to number one. You're number one. So he's had the brunt of it. Nobody would say anything to me because he'd blame it on the wife.
Yeah.
But actually that was
blame it on the marketing team.
And he would, I think that's when he realized that, oh God, you know what? We do show up. So is a very good spokesperson for the brand. And he wears the badge well, as in, he's got a jacket with it on.
Yeah. No, you guys work hard, to service this much business.
Yeah. We still, we both enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think if either of us didn't, obviously as you get older, it's tiring, but I think he thrives on the business when it's busy. When it's quiet, he struggles because he wants to constantly just go out there and, give him 4 weddings today, and that's what he thrives on.
Yeah.
And he loves creating. His ideas may not be the same as mine, but I do look to him for how do we do this, which I was doing even 15 years ago. Like, how do we do this? And I still say to him, how do we do this? So it is a team that does work well together in the best of times.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. In terms of, let's talk about ideas. Tim, you talked about a bit of ideas, and how are you using AI in your business now?
Oh, I love AI.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I embrace it. And I think it's about time the rest of the industry did. What I feel is that if we don't embrace it, then as a business, you'll get left behind. I'll give you an example. I'm seeing more and more AI mood boards come through to me. You may have seen.
Yeah.
We're seeing images from ChatGPT that clients are sending to us. Obviously, it means that things look way bigger than they should be. But isn't that a creative challenge? But it's also then managing expectations. I think what I'm finding is with AI, so when we want to show a candelabra with a certain style of flowers, we use AI. We use AI and then we correct it because we have our own in-house 3D design artists. So we then correct it using other software such as Photoshop and etc. that we can then work on. So what you've done is you've just fast-tracked the process of getting the base right. It also means that it can create images. So if you creatively, like I do this a lot, if I'm sort of imagining, so I was putting together something in a conservatory setting and I want to see it dressed in jasmine and flowers everywhere, I can do that on AI, which previously I'd have to either go and physically do or sit down with the render artist. It would take her a week to get that together. So AI is great. That's on the visual front. On the other front, technical front, it's helping. So, I need to do a graph of a stage block, 2 by 3 meters or something. Can you do the 2Ds for the print file? So there's so many things it's helping with. social media captions.
Yeah.
So it's quite good, right?
As long as you take those dashes off.
Yeah, as long as you edit it. So you have to, you can't just picking it up and just placing it. It's not, don't be
correct.
lazy about it. You have to work with it and put your own thoughts on it.
Agree. And what's your favorite AI platforms?
So I do like ChatGPT, although I think it has its own style. I do like Midjourney. I think it's very creative to work with. I mean, and then all the inbuilt, I mean, Canva's got inbuilt tools in AI. I didn't really love Instagram's search tool. I think it's a bit annoying. WhatsApp is
Meta AI,
sticking AI into there. I don't know what we'll do with that sort of AI. But I mean, ChatGPT is good, but I feel like I'd like to go. I mean, I'm trying to do a course on learning how to use AI in weddings. So probably I will go and do that as well.
And then you can tell us what's the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I want to learn more about.
Brilliant. And you know, so many years, Timmy, doing this business, 15 plus years, is it?
Yes.
15 plus years. What keeps you motivated to get up every morning and continue and do the same thing?
I mean, look, I'm not doing the same thing every day.
True.
That's the first thing. For example, I've had a long sort of 8 days in the office. Tomorrow, I'm meeting a group of Italian planners at the Bulgari Hotel, just learning about new venues. Next week, I'm in Portugal for 3 days. Then I get back to the office. So I think what keeps me going is the fact that I get to meet new people every day. I've got a client call tomorrow for hopefully a brand new brief. This evening's quite a fun call. So I think we don't do the same thing every day. And I think that's a problem as well, because, you know, where we're trying to put systems in place, I have to follow the system as well. But I think that's the thing. Our request, I mean, I don't even know. I could get a request on Monday for a wedding in December or for a wedding in February or an event in May, and it could be a mind-blowing event. And that's the thing. Every day isn't the same. That's what I thrive on. You know, one day I'm in London, one day I'm in Europe. I could be on a call to somebody in America. I love that.
Amazing.
You know, keep me busy. I'll work 7 days a week.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Same in our field. Every business is different and needs different strategies. And you know, closing this out, you know, what advice would you give to others in this type of space who want to grow their business to 1 million plus revenue?
I think I always say this to my own children. There's no such thing as quick money, hard work. I mean, hard work, graft. You do have to sacrifice. I've sacrificed going to weddings and family dinners. I don't regret it at all, as much as people say. I'm going to reference Shah Rukh Khan here.
Okay.
Because there's a video. If you search for it, you'll find it. And we all know he's successful. Right? Everybody thrives to be as successful as him. Anybody who's successful and genuinely successful, and I'm nothing compared to the people that I look up to in terms of success, but I think there's no such thing as hard work. There's no such thing as an easy way out. You have to work 7 days. I don't want a work-life balance. Honestly, I don't want a work-life balance. I want to work for the next 25 years. I don't know what the retirement age is. I don't care. And one thing I have to note here is that, so my goal, or for going above, I mean, above the £1 million is a small, that I feel like that I haven't achieved yet. I want to do so much more. But that's because so one thing he says is that people will ask you, but do you not just miss just going to the park with your kids, or going to the beach, or going and having, I mean, he calls it like pani puri or chaat on the beach. And he said, no, I don't miss it. And I agree. And I say the same. No, I don't miss that. Because if you want to have that snack, I want to be able to pick up the phone and have that snack delivered to me. If I want to feel sand in my feet, I will go, and I'd rather go and buy a place with my own sand. That's my goal. It's not to go and enjoy those moments with my kids. I still see, look, I do the school run every day. Some things are non-negotiable. Today I'm not doing the school run because of this, and I drop my children off to school every day. Okay, that's one thing. I get Sundays off. If I do things with my kids. But I'm there, I'm available on the phone. What my children are learning from this is what children today need even more, which is hustle. Kids nowadays, they don't, especially Gen Z, they don't understand hard work. So if we work hard, if they see us constantly going from here to there, managing, working under pressure, they are learning from us. And kids nowadays, they don't want a lot, but they have high expectations. They want quality over quantity. They need to see that you have to work hard from it. So anybody else trying to do this, you cannot, you have to work hard. You have to sacrifice something. And it's better for you mentally and physically if you're busy than if you sit there scrolling on the phone for 6 hours a day. Or if you decide that, oh no, I mean, Gen Z are the same. A gym is a non-negotiable, which is true. But do it in your off working hours, right? Work in those working hours. Work when the world wakes up. So anybody needs to remember, work hard, sacrifice the good things to get to those, to get to your goals.
Yeah. Amazing.
So sacrifice.
No, it's a good question there, actually, with children. We'll break that one up, Timmy, to make it separate. But that's mine. Anything else, Tim, you want to add?
No, I think, you've been a big part of our journey, Rick. So thanks to you.
Thank you for giving us the reins to test our skills and actually make it. You were our first client, Tim.
Oh, yeah, I was your first client, wasn't I?
First client. So you took a punt on us. And
I didn't realize I was doing that at the time.
Yeah.
So you're very good at selling your services.
Well, you've got to learn these skills. Similar to you, you've got to be on it day in, day out.
No, but you delivered.
Yeah.
The thing is, you delivered. That's why we're still together doing this, right?
Exactly. And with every client, Timmy, we have to deliver numbers. We have to deliver a profit. That's the main thing. We have to deliver profit.
I think we've got similar mindset on business because we both come back to profit, don't we?
Have to, because if they're not,
just being famous isn't enough for either of us.
Exactly. And if the client's not making profit, how are they going to pay you?
Yeah.
So it's our duty. Yeah. No, it's good, Timmy. But no, that's it, Timmy. I appreciate it. That's our first one done, Timmy.
Oh, good.